Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard.
What is up, everybody? Enderheart here, back with Cipher Secret, and today we will be reading Chapter 28 of The Nightmare Realm, Part 3. Ugh, where am I? My head hurts like hell. Azaf and Daniel woke up with a groggy and cranky Dana complaining about why they were lying on the floor in the middle of a forest, with Azaf holding an unknown object and the floor completely creaked. Azaf blinked and rubbed his eyes to see if whatever was happening was true or if they were dreaming. In fact, they weren't. The trio was lying in the middle of the floor, and for some reason, Azaf was holding an object which he had no knowledge of. Slowly, Daniel was the first to stand up, slightly swaying to the side and a little dizzy, but quickly shaking it off. Dana was the second, but she seemed already full of energy, for she jumped off the floor and seemed perfectly fine, as if there was no side effects whatsoever. Azaf was the last one to stand up, but did so after a few seconds. He looked down at the object lying on his feet and quickly bent down to snatch it. "What is this?" he asked himself loudly. "A better question would be, where are we? Because I don't know," Dana pointed out. Azaf rolled his eyes and analyzed the object a little, trying to memorize every inch of it. "Azaf, stop staring at this sharp-pointed thing like it's some kind of Mona Lisa art of whatever, and let's get out of this place," she whined, annoyed by the fact that Azaf decided to completely ignore her. He sighed. "Okay, let's get out of here. First, this will be our priority right now, but right after, we are going to find out what this is. It's not here for nothing." While he said that, Dana waved her hand dismissively, looking around, checking all the exits, and deciding from which one she would start. The any meeny. Daniel looked at his pocket clock. Yes, he had one of those. 6:24 p.m. He swore they had been there before, 1 minute exactly before all this happened. Guys," Daniel called, still staring at the clock, surprised. "Do any of you remember what time it was before we woke up?" Dana was going to answer sarcastically, but Azaf was way faster, and his memory... Dana was going to answer sarcastically, but Azaf was way faster, and his memory rarely failed him. 6:23 p.m. exactly. "Why do you ask?" Daniel walked to him and showed him the pocket watch without saying anything. Azaf's eyes widened. "Whoa, I can't believe this happened! How come we blacked out and when we woke up and just 1 minute passed? This is impossible unless this is another day." Daniel nodded. That was a possibility, but a very low one. Suddenly, Dana whipped out a calendar and pointed it at them. "Nope, this is the same day we slept before waking up in Artemis knows where," Dana remarked. "Artemis?" Azaf mentally asked himself. "And where did she get that? Never mind." "Anyhow," Dana said, snapping her fingers as the calendar got surrounded by flames and disappeared in a pinch. "What? How? When? Where? Why does she even learn that? I've been training for that trick for months," Azaf thought with his eyes wide. "Okay, what direction, then, Miss Dora the Explorer?" Daniel said sarcastically. Dana sneered at him. "I don't know. Aren't you always mentioning you're better than me at directions? Why not lead the way, Mr. Go Diego Go?" she remarked. Daniel blushed in embarrassment. His ditz of a sister had just owned him, but again he should have kept his damn mouth shut. Azaf joined them quickly and cleared his throat. "Can't we solve this politely?" he asked in annoyance. "Not really," Dennis answered dismissively. "Now move. I don't pay you to stand there like a statue." Azaf's eye twitched. "You don't pay me for anything. That's why I said I don't pay you. Now move." Azaf sighed while gripping the object in his hands tightly. Something told him this would lead them to something so dangerous they would regret it later. This was already affecting him. He was starting to badly regret this hunt. So, in the end, he and Daniel followed Dana as the trio disappeared within the forest, swallowed by the giant pine trees around them. Penance. That was the word that echoed through Dipper's mind as the creature pounced at him, dropping both to the floor as he started to struggle in its hold, air escaping his lungs. He kicked the creature on where he supposed it was its abdomen, throwing it forward and off of him. Dipper had enough time to stand up and escape. He did the first thing, but did not move. Instead, he was analyzing the beast in hopes to discover any useful information that he could use to defeat it, but the creature was purely black. There was nothing that he could do to defeat it. The creature lunged at him again, but Dipper dodged, barely. One of the creature's claws ripped his shirt sleeve, and Dipper stumbled to the side, losing his balance and falling to the floor. Everything was getting blurry as his head was hurting like hell, but the adrenaline in his veins prevented him from fainting as he stood up in a jolt and started looking around to see if the creature was still there. It wasn't. Penance. The word repeated itself in Dipper's mind as he was thrown against an invisible wall by an invisible force, creating a hole in said wall and causing a scream of pain from Dipper as he felt his bones being crushed under the force, which was now gripping his neck in the same way the creature did with the child, which was now lying dead a few meters away from him. Dipper's heart was racing faster than ever, even faster than when he first faced Bill. His mind was heavy, and it was hard to think of anything. With this, he wouldn't last longer. But what else could he do now? He was cornered. Air escaped Dipper's lungs as he felt himself losing all strength and control of his own body, struggling to escape, but failing. Anxiety took its place in his mind. Finally, Dipper's vision started to fade as he closed his eyes, giving in to the darkness, but not before picturing the creature's black eyes in his mind, the black eyes that would never let him sleep ever again. And then, when everything went black, that word that haunted him decided to repeat itself once more. And then, when everything went black, that word that haunted him decided to repeat itself once more. Penance. Dana, where in the 7 hounds of hell are we? Daniel asked in an annoyed voice tone. Hey, I did what you told me. I'm following the compass. The thing is, I can't understand shit about it, Dana explained while tapping the compass's glass, trying to fix it somehow. I mean, what are all those letters supposed to mean? N for not even close? W must mean, whoa, you're really that stupid? Or, where the fuck are you going, lad? Dana wisecracked as Daniel groaned loudly and snatched the compass from her hands. Hey, I was trying to use that. If you keep trying, we'll be here forever, Daniel explained as he pointed to a certain direction. We're heading there. Whoa, Dana interrupted. Since when did we decide who should take charge of things? Since Azaf and I decided we wanted to get the hell out of here before it gets dark, and we actually don't think you're going to learn how to use a compass anytime soon. Dana stuck her tongue out at him as the trio kept walking silently, alert to all sounds, eager to get out of the endless forest of pine trees before it darkened, being swallowed by the trees around them, and slowly disappearing within sight. Dipper opened his eyes in a snap. Everything was dark and blurry. He blinked his eyes to adjust to his sight. Now everything was becoming clearer. He was in the attic, with the clothes he was using when he went to sleep before all of this happened. Looking at his side, he noticed Mabel's bed was empty. He blinked a few more times and stood up. What had just happened? Then everything came to his mind at once. Bill's deal, his son, the apprentices, Aronde, the strange objects in Azaf's hands, the Corbos, the strange creature's attack, and everything else. Dipper's heart started racing. Was it just a dream? It can't be. It was so real. Should he just forget about that? Perhaps it was a dream. Right? He turned to the door and began descending to the stairs with his heart racing. What kind of dream was that? A dream as realistic as that shouldn't cross his mind without a meaning. Perhaps Dipper was too worried about Bill and dreamt about him making a deal with the demon. He stopped halfway on the floor. There was just a way to confirm it right now. He looked at his arm, searching for any signs of a cut. There was none. That only meant one thing. It was a dream. Sighing in relief, Dipper reached the bottom of the stairs, entering the kitchen. Mabel was there, eating pancakes, though they were so covered in glitter that it was hard to know if it was pancakes that were under it. Gruckle Stan was also there, eating along with her. For a moment, Dipper's heart started beating steadily. Hey, Dipper, I made the pancakes this time, Mabel said with a large smile. First, Dipper looked at her and Stan's plates, both covered in an incredible amount of hopefully edible glitter. Then he looked at the ceiling, where a great amount of pancake dough was glued to. One of the pancakes fell on his face. I think I noticed, Dipper answered simply as he wiped the dough off his face and headed to the table. Stan was reading a newspaper and barely made any eye contact with anyone. Well, everything was back to normal. Mabel, I just had the weirdest dream. And then, while eating his pancakes, which were literally tasteless, Dipper got a strange feeling. Something was wrong. Guys, random question. Dana broke the silence after they got out of the forest and headed into the city. The trio could already see the sunset, which meant they had to go home, and fast. Azaf and Daniel stopped to look at her. She pointed to the sword-looking object in Azaf's hands. "What do we do with this shit?" "Dana, first of all," Daniel started before Azaf had the chance, "don't call it a shit." "Why not? It has feelings?" Dana asked emotionlessly while crossing her arms. "No, I hope." Daniel rolled his eyes and pinched his nose. How could he put that into words? "But I don't want to mess with it. We don't know what it is yet, and I'm not eager to discover it tonight. I'd like to live, and you're hearing this from a demon student." Azaf's lips curled into a smile. If Daniel was trying to be serious, he was failing. "Second of all, and don't interrupt me, we're going to Dipper's house, get him, and find out all the things that have been happening, together. Then we tell him what happened to us." "Well, I agree with you, but we're all in the same boat now, and if we don't do our part as a team, the boat will sink," Azaf stated, but then sighed. "Though I'm almost sure he won't understand. I'm still confused by all of this, and I lived it." He closed his eyes and facepalmed. "God damn it, I need a new crew." All right, let's get him," Dana agreed. Another random question. "What is it now?" Daniel groaned. He just wanted to go home. "Is it just me, or do you guys have a feeling that we're messing with dark magic?" Dana suddenly stopped. The three of them stood there facing each other. Arande's words echoed through their minds in unison. "I can't exactly tell you what it is, but I can feel the dark magic within it. Something dangerous." Dana had been having this feeling ever since, a strong feeling of guilt. And, wait, why did she even care? "I don't know, but we better be alert," Daniel said while making eye contact with Azaf. He nodded. Yes, they should be alert. They were messing with dark magic, after all. Daniel facepalmed. "I'm definitely not sleeping tonight." Dipper ate the last slice of pancake there was left and then stared at Mabel, trying to see if there was something going on. He wanted a signal of something suspicious. He didn't get any. Obviously, Mabel was still the same and was blabbering about how she was going to get the boys and Mermondo. Obviously, Mabel was still the same and was blabbering about how she was going to get the boys and Mermondo. Obviously, Mabel was still the same and was blabbering about how she was going to get boys and Mermondo and all the stuff she would usually say. That was until she turned to him and asked, "Hey, Dipper, can we go out?" Sure," Dipper answered, still unsure of what to do. "Great! I want to catch some bar fairies," Mabel cheered. In Dipper's mind, there was nothing wrong with her or her personality, but Dipper couldn't help but feel that her enthusiasm was so fake. In his mind said, "Take it easy, you just woke up from a strange dream and you have to calm down." But his instinct said, "Run, run, don't stop till you're far away from the shack." Dipper reached the point where he was divided by his mind and instinct. "Okay, I'll just grab the journal and then we can go," Dipper said nervously. He had left his book in the attic, but he couldn't care less about it right now. That was merely an excuse to leave the kitchen as soon as possible. He wanted some time alone. "Am I going insane?" Dipper pondered while slowly standing up and walking towards the door. When he was about to exit the kitchen, however, a jolt of electricity ran through his body and forced him to jerk back. "What the—" "Don't leave me," Mabel pleaded in a dark tone. "No," Dipper whispered in horror as he turned to her, his heart beating faster than before. "No, no, 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 no," he whispered. Why couldn't he have a break for once?" Mabel was staring at him. Her eyes were completely dark, and her irises were glinting a red warning tone. There was no pupils. "Stay with us," Stan said as he lowered the newspaper he was holding to reveal that his eyes were in the same state as Mabel's. Dipper took another step back, the world disorienting around him, and Mabel and Stan staring at him with their demonic eyes, staring at his soul. Dipper took a few steps back just before receiving another jolt of electricity that forced him to jump forward. And then Dipper understood. He wasn't supposed to escape. "Stay with us, Dipper," Mabel's doppelganger pleaded, red irises staring down at him. "Stay with us forever." Dipper completely lost his breath upon noticing how the world around him started to become black and red, dark clouds forming around the shack with a blood-red sky. "Don't abandon us," it pleaded. Stan's doppelganger merely joined in the chorus of Dipper's nightmare. Stay with us. Stay with us. Stay with us. They keep chorusing. Dipper wanted to run, but the jolts of electricity he received were too strong to make his entire body ache. He couldn't think. His mind was only focusing on the doppelganger's eyes, staring at him while they kept repeating the same phrase, the same plea. Then, unexpectedly, Mabel's doppelganger stopped. It opened its mouth, and the blood started to gush from it, its sickening scent invading Dipper's nostrils. The vision of all the blood Mabel's doppelganger was vomiting, plus the horrible scent, made Dipper's hands fly to his mouth, trying to prevent himself from throwing up. Stan's doppelganger stopped as well, its face contorting while Dipper was forced to watch this agony. Then its eyes started to move until a larvae came crawling out of his mouth, eyes, and ears, and all other body parts. The larvae were just as red as the blood Mabel's doppelganger was vomiting. Dipper knew he couldn't handle it anymore. Without any hesitation, he turned to the kitchen door and, without any options, threw himself against it. He felt the jolts of electricity running through his body, attempting to block his way, but Dipper wasn't going to give in. He wanted to go home, and that definitely wasn't home. He fought against the electricity running through his veins, the headache forming in his head, his vision going blurry, and pain altogether. He was strong. He was strong. Bang! A gunshot. Bang! 2 gunshots. Bang! 3 gunshots. Dipper was momentarily dazed and didn't dare look back to wonder where the gunshots came from. He didn't want to know. The unrecognizable sequence of sounds invaded Dipper's ears as he fell face first on the floor, having passed through the electricity field. Obviously, that pain didn't bother him as he stood up as quickly as he could and tried to open the nearest door to the outside. Locked. No. This can't be happening to me, Dipper thought, in panic, as he turned his back to the door, watching the kitchen carefully. It was quiet. Dipper didn't like this silence. He always enjoyed some silence, especially to read the journal, but right now he didn't want to listen to his own heart beating faster than it ever did. He turned to the door again and took a deep breath to calm himself down. He took a few steps back and looked back. Mabel and Stan's doppelgangers were staring at him with their black, lifeless eyes and creepy grins on their mouths. Dipper prepared for the impact. He focused as much as he could and tried not to think of his aching muscles and racing heart. 3, 2, 1! Dipper screamed. He ran as fast as he could and closed his eyes, ready to collide with the locked door. In Dipper's mind, this would be futile, because he was weak. But something happened. Something that surprised him a lot. The door cracked into 1,000,000 pieces under his pressure. Dipper collided with the floor, just barely awake, and felt 1,000,000 volts of electricity running through his body, veins, muscles, eyes, and all of his internal organs. And felt 1,000,000 volts of electricity running through his body, veins, muscles, eyes, and all of his internal organs. He resisted the need to scream of pain and stood up weakly, looking back. The shack was burning in red flames, a maniac laughter echoing through his mind. Finally, the pain was too much for Dipper to bear, and a soft voice going through his mind was the last thing he heard before everything went black. And the voice said, "Oh, you and I are going to get along just fine, little brother."